Hello out there, and today we are going from my previous video, which was focused on classic CRKTs, to one that is all about a brand new, just coming out, I think this week, knife called the Razelcliffe. And it might be pronounced Razelcliffe, I'm not sure. I've heard it pronounced both ways. I've actually had two other previous iterations of this knife from CRKT, and I enjoyed them both. And so when they announced this one of their mid-year editions, with short notice before it hit the market, I was super pumped. And when it came to the Apex Pass-Around group, I definitely wanted to get in on it. And unfortunately, guys, I can't really do a review of this knife because it's pretty crappy to the extent that I couldn't really use it comfortably at all, which is a big bummer because the previous ones that I've had were heavy users, and they were knives that were durable and took a whole lot of punishment. And I'm going to bring out the folding Razel, which was one of my early CRKTs before I even had a channel, and this knife just got the crap kicked out of it. I did everything with this knife. I pried with it, I beat it up, I resharpened it a whole bunch of times. And then once I got to the point where there was considerable lockup issues just from the amount of abuse I put on it, I was able to use the secondary lock, the manual locks mechanism, in order to keep it secure for a while longer. And then once I didn't even get comfortable with that, I retired it, and you can see I just did a whole bunch of crazy mod kind of research tests and stuff, just ridiculous things from years ago, right? So this knife has certainly had a long life and a good life, and was a very noteworthy and capable one. And so I expected nothing different, especially with the smaller stubby Razel version that I'd had as well. I expected this Razelcliffe to be a little tank, be something comparable to, not necessarily a Spyderco Techno because it's a little bit more thin than that, but comparable to, let's say, a CRKT Squid, here's a Squid, a little bit longer than the Razelcliffe, but hoping to get something of the similar quality just in a small package. Another size comparison that we'll do real quick is a pretty small Spyderco. Once you get smaller than the Ambitious, they get to be these tiny keychain knives though, so well, maybe the Dragonfly, but again, sort of a keychain knife there too. But we have that. But the problem with the Razelcliffe here is it just isn't well built. It's machined very badly. The lockup is not secure. There were just issues with it from the word go. What I'll say is aesthetically, it does look pretty good. I've said some good things about CRKT's, their black wash finish. The only thing I don't love aesthetically about it is that they put it on everything, so there's just no contrast. But whatever. I mean, this is supposed to be a tool, and so you don't really have to worry about stuff like that. But maybe already you can see what my biggest issue with this knife is. And I knew that it was going to be an issue before I even tested the lockup. I mean, look at it. Look at the engagement. And I have a number of pictures that I will insert as well. But I mean, it just looks wonky. It just looks weird. It looks unnatural and awkward. And just the way that this interaction is between the lock face and the back of the blade, it just is not clean. And there's a lot of play. And so I disassembled this knife. I took a look at it. The machining is not good. And this did go through a couple other people through the pass-around group first, and they used it for light stuff, and no one really noticed that stuff. It's something that I look for immediately, and especially when you're putting out a budget little tank for 30 bucks, and you've got great knives from the same company like the Squid to compare it to. The expectation is it's got to be on that level, or there's no reason to buy it. And unfortunately for me, there's zero reason to buy this knife. And it might just be a lemon, but this is in advance of the release of the knife, a sample that was passed around. So you would think that it would be the best example that CRKT could find in order to send to the pass-around group that we have here. Again, I digress. Just judging the knife itself, it's a mess. And when I took it apart, you could see the machining for the pivot. This is a C-shaped pivot, and the hole for it is I don't even know what that shape is. It's almost sort of circular in some points. So it just isn't done well. It just isn't clean. And it's pretty unfortunate because we should have a very nice knife here, a nice, neat budget entry. And I just can't give it enough time to even be able to recommend it at all. So that's a bummer. It is a flipper. It is running on IKBS. the bearings were a little bit disappointing just as far as the quality of them. It's like very, very small, tiny little bearings inside these caged plastic. And again, for a budget price, I'm not really expecting much more, but you can also get an understanding of why, like, it's not particularly snappy. Yeah, it is IKBS and it is pretty smooth in some points, but it's not really on par with a lot of the other IKBS knives that you would receive. So the standard there like might be a little bit disappointing if you were to pick it up and expect something really nice and snappy with drop shutty action. Quite possibly not going to be the case. The other thing I noticed is that, you know, when I put the knife back together, that sometimes depending on how I tightened it and how I put it back together, like, play was different, it was solid, it felt better, yada yada. So it's just not like a consistent thing where you take apart a knife, put it back together, it's exactly the same. You know, I do think that there's just an engagement problem here with the lock bar. And I know that there are going to be people who are going to say, well, you can fix that, you can do that, you can do this and that. And I've always been the guy who doesn't like to mess with that. And I've done it before, I've fixed knives before, but honestly, like, you shouldn't have to, one. And two, if you know that there's a lock engagement problem with this model, let's say, like, even if you think you can fix it, are you going to be the one who purchases the knife and is just like, yeah, I'll fix that? Like, probably not. You'll probably find a model that doesn't have that issue just to avoid it altogether. So, you know, that's not really my thing, trying to get in there and fix it. It's not what you're supposed to have to do when you purchase a knife. And again, this is a $30 knife. For that price, even though that is still considered budget in everybody's book and my own, you should still get more than that. And CRKT is definitely better than that. And I've been really high, and I've been talking about it on the idea of comparing knives amongst the same company, right? And what we were talking about in some previous videos is, you know, if I'm going to get a knife from CRKT, why would I get it if there's another CRKT that's better? And the squid, which I literally just had in front of me and now I can't find, here we go. And the squid, you know, and this is a D2 special edition, yada yada, that is going to be a little bit more expensive, but the regular squid is a lot cheaper than this and is a much better knife. So the only way on planet Earth that you should ever consider getting this knife over a squid is if for some reason you have a 2.5 inch cutting edge, or yeah, you have a 2-inch cutting edge minimum in wherever you live because you have that difference in blade length. But that's it. I mean, I don't see anything about this Razelcliffe that really is worthy of even stopping and paying attention to it, unfortunately. And it's a bummer to say that because, you know, I had a really fun video that I just posted the other day about all the classic CRKTs that I love. I have another fun video that's coming very soon about another brand new CRKT that is excellent. So, I mean, they're doing some great things, but the consistency obviously isn't there, and I don't think the time was put into making this as good of a knife as it could be, and as it should be, granted how good the design has been for me in the past with the other iterations. All right, guys, so that's what I've got. Any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, let me know down below. Bummer to have to talk badly about a knife, but that's the world we live in, and that's reality. All right, thanks again for watching. Take care, and have a good one.